Well, this weekend has seen some very feisty debate about a number of national affairs issues. Anthony Albanese, as I say, now says what Scott Morrison did was not illegal. The Greens are calling for the scrapping of the state or the stage 3 tax cuts. And former Defence Chief Sir Peter Cosgrove is in some trouble with a number of veterans after comments he made about mental illness in the ADF. He basically said that the ADF senior leadership cannot be psychiatrists. So joining me now to discuss some of that is Tasmanian Senator Jacqui Lambie. Jacqui, good to have you on the program. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Anthony Albanese has confirmed today that what the former Prime Minister did by creating the secret shadow cabinet is not illegal. Are you still keen on Scott Morrison resigning, and when?
You know, I think we already knew there was nothing illegal he's done. It's what it looks like out in the public arena, I suppose. And you know what, I'd like to see him resign, because when somebody does things like that, it makes the rest of us look bad, to be honest with you, Chris. And we're not exactly, when it comes to Canberra, we're not exactly right on a high scale with most public opinion out there. So I just think it was completely overreached. There was no need for him to do it. But the only people that can actually ask him or tell him to resign are the people in his electorate. So I guess it comes to them whether they're going to start making phone calls and sending in letters to say whether or not they're disgruntled or whether or not they're satisfied that his behaviour was acceptable. And that's what it's going to come down to. So, but, you know, I do say this, Chris, to bring stability, if he is considering resigning in the very near future, then seriously, if we could just get out, it is a distraction. Let's be honest. I don't know if there's anything else that's going to come out in the next few months. If there isn't, he knows about it. I'd be leaving if I was him. I don't think he's got many friendlies left out there, to be honest with you, mate.
Now, the Labor government is facing growing calls from the Greens, the unions and the welfare sector to scrap the stage 3 tax cuts, which will benefit higher income earners and cost, I think it's close enough to $250 billion. Jacqui, what side of the debate will you stand on if that reaches the Senate?
I've always made it very clear, Chris, you know, out of that debate, that stage 3 that I agreed to originally, we had our public housing debt wiped. So we are very grateful for that in Tasmania. But I did say, and I made it very clear when I made that deal at the time, and also made it very clear in the chamber, that if things changed economically, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, mate, I couldn't see 5 years ahead, but if something terrible happened, if our economy went backwards and we couldn't afford these stage 3 tax cuts, then they had to go. It's as simple as that. And right now, what I'm seeing out there on the streets, mate, with the homelessness, our public hospital system, our public schools, mate, we've got, you know, an NDIS that's going to cost a fortune. We have aged care. We need to put, at least, we should be putting close to $4 or $5 billion to really pop that up each year. $16 to $20 billion worth of tax cuts a year, mate. That's a lot of billions of dollars that we could be putting into those lower sectors. And I think that's a much better way to go forward, rather than giving people like myself and many others out there, whether it's lawyers, doctors, that do not need it, mate. We do not need it, a tax cut. I'll be open and honest with you.
So you're not supporting them anymore because of the change in the state of the economy, especially inflation?
Yeah, I am compared to the debt that we're now in because of COVID. Obviously, when these stage 3 tax cuts went through, there was no COVID back then, so we didn't even see COVID coming. We can see that we're in a large amount of debt in the country, and I think we need to be really sensible with that. Right now, let's be brutally honest, people like me, once again, do not need a tax cut. But I can see what is going on at the very below, sitting on that poverty line, mate. Our public hospitals, like I said, our aged care system, the NDIS, we need to pay them forward as decent people that are already on enough money and that can survive. We do not need stage 3 tax cuts. I certainly don't, neither does anybody else.
All right, to something that you're very familiar with, this interim report from the Royal Commission into Defence and Veterans Suicide. The former Defence Chief, Sir Peter Cosgrove, made some comments last weekend. He reacted to the report by basically saying senior ADF personnel can't be amateur psychiatrists. That has seen some war veterans today slamming the comments as ignorant and damaging. I would have thought, and I said this to Nick Caldos, one of the Royal Commissioners last weekend on the program. The ADF has to provide psychiatric support for soldiers before, during and after service, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely do. But they also, people need to be very aware. It shouldn't matter what level, what rank you are in the military, that we should be having just that basic training on recognising when somebody is having mental instability or, are down on their luck. And seriously, we do all these training courses that we do. This could be taught at the very basic level, going through our basic training, just 2 hours then, with somebody with a specialist there that can teach us to identify when somebody's not handling things very well and what pathways we should send them so they can get the help that they need. Nobody's asking them to sit down and be a counsellor for an hour. We just need to be very open and honest about what is going on in there. And the simplest way is start teaching that sort of stuff, right from day one. I just can't see why we can't do that. None of this is in subject courses. You don't learn anything about mental health when you are going through your basic training at the PUCA. What is wrong? I mean, they can bring in someone to teach girls how to groom themselves for an hour, but cannot bring in a mental health specialist to tell us what the warning signs look like and where we send them in the armed forces. And if they don't want to go there because they're too scared to, who do we send them to on the outside?
Yeah, and that's all you need to do. You just need that middle management, that leadership to be able to pick the warning signs, not to counsel them, not to go through that process as an amateur psychiatrist. Pick the warning signs and funnel them through to the right professionals. I can understand why some of those veterans are upset at what Peter Cosgrove had to say last weekend. Now, as a Taswegian, Jacqui, what are your thoughts about a de-extinction company genetically resurrecting the Tasmanian tiger? Come on.
Oh, we're all a bit concerned, mate. It might end up like as big as a dinosaur. We're a little bit worried about the genetical stuff. But honestly, if you're going to do it, mate, we know what they're like. They've got that lockjaw. They are vicious. So if they can do that on the mainland in case they get loose again, that'd be great. So we can close our borders to the bloody things, mate. But seriously, look, if you could do that sort of thing, I'm not sure about mucking around with science like that. We just don't tell you mainlanders. We actually do have them running around down here, mate, but, we're already flooded with this and we just don't want you down here with your binoculars, I'll be honest with you. So we're good. They're alive and well down in Tasmania, mate. Simple as that.
That's what would happen. Now, but after the Tasmanian tiger, Jacqui, we could consider resurrecting a few permanent Jacqui Lambies into the future once you left us, you see?
Oh, absolutely. If you can take my DNA and make them now, mate, and bring that forward, that'd be fabulous. Watch me take over Australia. You won't need to worry about any other Prime Ministers. I'm coming.
You enjoy your week. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Good on you, Jacqui Lambie.